it's a basically enabler. If you are able to, achieve to a large extent SDG 16, probably it will help to achieve the other SDGs also. So similarly, if you are able to improve in the health, or if you are able to improve in the education, ultimately the other SDGs get actually improved into that. So similarly, like India has taken a commitment, a nationally determined contributions at the global level, that we are going to reduce our emission intensity per GDP of 30 to 35%, 33 to 35% in 2030 at the level of 2005. Second thing, what we have said also, that we will create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons, equivalent of carbon by additional forest and tree cover. And of course, the most important is that 40% of installed electric capacity to be from the non-fossil fuel. So similarly, these kinds of things have been taken into considerations, and probably, we'll have to learn similar things from other countries, and probably then only we will be able to much better. And if South Asia, as everybody has said in the morning, achieve the SDG, definitely we will be able to achieve at the world level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok Jain. I'm really grateful to you that you mentioned that it's possible to monitor the progress towards achieving SDGs in terms of 78 indicators across different states. You are really endorsing the view of the Deputy Chairman of the Niti Aayog when he said that such exercise needs to be done, and I have a feeling that similar exercise can be done certainly for the South Asian countries also, and this would be certainly a big move. We have time for 3 quick questions before we will have our chairperson giving the final comments. Can we have just 3 hands going up? 1, yes, I see Dr. Rahman. 2, yes, I have noted your hand. Sorry, I forgot your name, although you mentioned in the afternoon, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This is Mohammad Mizanur Khan from Bangladesh. So it is always difficult to speak after such a scholarly speech given by Dr. Bhattacharya, yet I try to make my point. So one point with regard to goal 16, I have experienced that the civil society, they love to speak on the governance deficits, which is appreciated and which we need to speak up at the global level, regional level, and also at the national level. But one particular point relating to goal 16 is that the institutions that we normally tend to avoid, particularly the role of the civil service. In the morning sessions, we have heard experiences of the developmental states. And if we read the literature concerning the developmental states, we will find that the role of the civil service was tremendous, particularly with regard to the development of Japan and the Southeast Asian countries. So you all understand the robustness of this SDG in terms of the scope and in terms of reaching out and also in terms of the data management. So, and civil service would be one of the key institutions which would play the main role in managing all those things. So I think at this point of time, we need to focus on also the civil service, that it should be politically insulated and it should be professionally, upscaled. And particularly, we also discussed about the Southeast Asia, the commonalities and the regional, regional integration in Southeast Asia. We also find a good example in Southeast Asia that they have a Southeast Asian Forum on the civil service. So I propose that in the South Asia, we could also form a forum on the civil service. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My first comment is that listening to Professor Bhattacharya on the way you spoke about all the goals together was extremely encouraging, especially your point on including goal 16 as a perennial goal, because as rightly said, that it's an enabler. However, on the other end of the spectrum, it was extremely disappointing to hear that Dr. Ashok Jain talking about goal 3 and goal 4 as enabling goals, whereas totally missing out on goal 16 as the ultimate enabling goal. Despite 22 consultations so far in the past 3 years on SDGs, not a single consultation in India has happened on goal 16. I wish that one would take some inspiration from Bhattacharya's point about the lack of political traction on goal 16, and hopefully that this can be amended in the coming years of Agenda 2030. Thank you.
You know, one of the purpose of this sub-regional discussion is to get the feedback from the civil society. So I give the third slot to Paul Debaka. Paul.
Thank you very much, Professor. It has been a very enlightening day and also a little bit depressing, especially when we hear Dr. Rajiv saying that regionally or sub-regionally there is a little difficulty in traction. I think one of the things that I find which has come in many of the goals is the discrimination based on caste, which is equally present. I think that doesn't see any of the boundaries, whether it's Nepal, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is India, whether it's Pakistan or Bangladesh. We are all united by this whole system called caste. Is there a way at least traction can be made? Because I think that's a trigger or that's an enabler that, as our chair has said in goal 16, to see that several of the other goals can have a real progress in this. So I feel if we can have some kind of a political will in visibilizing this and addressing this very strongly, I feel all of us can really make a happening the SDG goals. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now I'll give 1 minute and 31 seconds to each of the panelists to respond to that. May I start with Dr. Jain?
I think my second question, what you mentioned was, I think you have not listened what I said, probably so. I never said that goal 3 and 4 are the enabler, never said like that. Probably you have not listened, you must be thinking something else. And I only said about a goal 16 which you endorsed that it could be more of an enabler. What I only said about 3 and 4 was, give an example that if you are giving a LPG gas connection, it only helps in, improving the health of the women and the children, which indirectly also helps when the health is good. In fact, there even the, basically it helps in the education and all those kinds of, this is what I was trying to say, the interconnections of that, not more than that. Thanks very much.
If anything remains, you can discuss tomorrow morning. Devapyo.
Yes, I'll mention to you, this problem has arisen because if you go back into the history of negotiation of the SDGs, and I have had the good fortune of seeing it from close quarter. At that very time, in 2013 and 14, we were discussing about 4 pillars of SDGs, not current 3 pillars. It's now the economic, social, and environment. We wanted to have a 4th pillar, that's called good governance. And then it is negotiated, and it was a perverse coalition of both the developing countries and the developed countries who agreed to take it out as a pillar and put it as a goal, which at this moment is creating all the conceptual challenges and implementational issues. But we are still very happy that it is there. Thank you.
Thank you. And since I have the responsibility of being the moderator, I should be moderate myself, so I wouldn't speak all on this because of the discipline of this session. We have to conclude in another as much time as is required for the chairperson to conclude, and I also have a personal interest. I have a flight to catch in the evening. May I request the chairperson, Dr. Reena Ray, to make her concluding observations.
Thank you very much. It was interesting, but I won't say it was interesting, not at all. It was fascinating, is that all right?
Yes, sure.
And extremely, I would say, educating also. Thank you very much for that. I won't take too much time. I'd like to give a different perspective, perhaps, to all that I've been hearing today. And let me tell you that it really perked up towards the end, if I may say so, particularly thanks to those 3 very vibrant questions. So perhaps we should leave more time later on for people to actually talk and react, and everybody likes a little disagreement, so that little spat between the 2 of them was quite fascinating also at the same time. What are my impressions when I came here and what I heard, and what is it that I would like to share with you? As the young gentleman from Bangladesh mentioned, thank you so very much. The civil servants do play a very critical role. I'm a civil servant myself. I joined 34 years ago, and over 34 years, the sad part, let me start with the sad part, is that I have participated in endless workshops, like this, organized by a long list of organizers, including every single UN body. The good part is that over 34 years, I do see a huge improvement in so many areas. If I can share one example, you're familiar with the Swachh Bharat campaign. Around 14 years ago, I tried an initiative to teach children about their bodies, about their rights over their body, about menstrual hygiene. It was impossible. I was forced to stop. I never thought that in such a short span of time, I would be attending conferences where young girls in school manufactured their own sanitary napkins. They're giving a demonstration on that. All our ministers are there. The media is capturing it. So the sad part to repeat is, why do we always talk about these issues? Will MDG give way to SDG, and will SDG give way to what? WDG or something else? The good part is the improvement is taking place. We need to ensure that we work together to give it a perspective and a very large focus. One or two things which struck me today was that the young gentleman put it correctly. Goal 16 is most important. But a little while earlier, someone said goal 10 is most important. I also heard the speaker of goal 13 group say that is important. And as Secretary School Education in the Government of India, I might be thinking goal 4 is the most important. Because if we can teach the children in school about all the other goals, about climate change, if we can give them the requisite skills, will we not to a large extent perhaps have succeeded in achieving all our goals? So it occurred to me that perspective is a very critical issue in all of this. This is something I have faced as a woman, as a mother. Why? Why is it correct to fight against genital mutilation? Why? There are many people who think it's right. That's why they do it. Why is it wrong to rape a woman after watching pornography? Rape a girl in a school after you've watched pornography on your mobile phone? And why is it that certain people come forward to defend it? Perspective, as we saw today, ladies and gentlemen, is very critical. Can we move forward if we don't handle this issue? Will it be necessary for us to consider legislation for those areas which are universal? Child molestation, abuse, rape is wrong. Where, therefore, are the laws at the country and at the regional level? How will we handle this whole issue of different people having different perspectives? I really appreciated your concept and every one of regionalism. I was in Kathmandu not too far back, about 2 years ago. We were a group of women, and as the sun set, we thought we should go back to our hotel. That's what we normally do in India, isn't it? We were told that, sorry, in Kathmandu, it is the safest place. And they were absolutely right. How is it that Kathmandu has made its capital so safe? I'd like to know. Let's share about it. How did Bangladesh manage sanitation and the Grameen Bank and empowerment of women? We'd love to hear these stories. We also have wonderful stories in India. Can I request perhaps ESCAP, and my colleague is here from UNESCO and other organizations, can we set up a portal? A portal doesn't belong to anyone. Can we set up a portal and can we start talking to each other? Can we discuss issues? It could be textiles, it could be food, it could be these goals, it could be anything. Let's get all of us talking to each other to create some kind of identity and sharing everything. I must respond a little bit to education, and that too in India. My colleague here, Professor Kundu, mentioned something. If I could quote, there's a reason why I am referring to this. He talked about the differences in education being sharpest in India amongst rural and urban divide. That's what you exactly said. And there's a study to show it. I'm sure it's absolutely correct. I don't dispute it. But the fact of the matter is, if you are aware of it, we run some of the finest schools in the country in the rural area. That's the Navodaya Vidyalayas. And the children not only do excellently in school, but you again took admission in IITs and IIM as a benchmark of success. So our children are doing extraordinarily well. So therefore, what I want to position before you and suggest is that it is not that we don't know what needs to be done. All of us individually are excelling in so many areas, be it school education. Our own, you call them Dalits, I don't think we're supposed to call them that. Disadvantaged people in every country, every part of our societies are doing well. Perhaps, if I may suggest something uncomfortable, which I feel is a bit sad, perhaps we, means all of us, the civil service, the academics, the international organizations, the NGOs, perhaps somewhere we are not sufficiently committed in ensuring it and taking that the goals actually achieve. Perhaps it would be a better idea to come up with a list of activities, as my colleague Mr. Jain mentioned. Convert everything into indicators and activities. Ask everyone to comply. Simple things. We talked about a goal on climate change. Can we say in the next meeting, no more plastic bottles? Simple change. That's all that is absolutely required. Let's, absolutely. Thank you so very much. Let's walk the talk. I'm going to retire in a few years, so I can get away with being very vociferous. But we need to leave the legacy behind. The legacy has to be in the difference. The difference has to be measured. And I don't think that attending a conference is a measurement of what improvement we are bringing. This is a measurement. Walking the talk, talking to each other. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it in your side. Let's create the portal. Let's share simple activities. Let's come on a common platform. And let's show the rest of the world that when South Asia gets its act together, it can tell everyone else how to make our cities as safe as Kathmandu, how to make our schoolings as better as our Navodaya Vidyalayas, how to make our people as happy and the cities as clean as Bhutan, and all the other successes that we all have. Thank you again for inviting me. I had the last word. Okay, so that's a privilege which I got, but I hope that next time when we meet, which I'm sure we will be meeting, we will be able to actively and quantitatively measure the improvements that we all together have brought about in this interim period. Thank you so very much. Yes.
Big hand to the chairperson's concluding observations. She has picked up some of the key issues that came up, not only in this session, but even in the earlier session. I'm also grateful to the two panelists who very succinctly identified some of the critical areas, and the